Hey guys, Sunset here with a how to build Thor guide. Now, it's very simple to build, but very open to interpretation on different builds. This character doesn't really have a set in stone way to build. You can really experiment and try out loads of different things, and all of them are very, very strong, as this character is strong. But starting items, I've been doing this myself, and it is a little bit controversial, but I go Bumba's Mask into Rage of the Gods, into 1 health pot and 1 mana potion. I believe Rage of the Gods is good on 4 because it helps you securing those mid camps, getting early level 5, and also counter jungling the enemies. When I play 4, I like to look for those speed buff stills, and when they come off cooldown, I want to be able to make sure I can actually 100% secure those. And this also transitions very well into Fist of the Gods, which is an item that helps you in your kit with stunning and hitting your hammer. So I just like this build. You'll see some junglers building red potion, but I would recommend staying away from that, especially if you're new to smite. Anyway, onto the core build. Currently we have got Warrior Tabai into Jotons, and as you can see down here, we actually have got Spirit Robe as our third item, into Titan's Bane, into Void Shield, into Shifter Shield. Now there are a lot of different builds, as we have already talked about, where you can build such items as Hide of Urchin, Magi's Blessing, and Transcendence. But this build will give you overall the best survivability, the best damage output for the price of the items. It will also help you in getting a lot of ganks off, as you will be max CDR very early. So again, if you're newer to Smite, I would recommend this build, and if you're not newer to Smite, then maybe experiment with items such as Transcendence in the third slot, into the Spirit Robe, and you can even skip one of these 2 items. As far as the actives go, we will always be buying Purification Beads, and then as we talked about, getting Fist of the Gods at a later date in the game. We don't really need to get early Fist of the Gods, but early Beads 3, aka Greater Purification, is a great pickup, as you can use these to enable your abilities again. Now, what we want to level first is normally our Hammer or are free. Now this depends on who your solo laner is, as you'll be clearing camps with them. So if you have a good clearer with you, then level the hammer. If your clearer is kind of bad, I'll give you an example. A bad clearer would be Hercules. He's quite a slow clearer. Then I would level Berserker's Barrage, so you can clear out those smaller minions faster. Okay, so let's just pretend we have a good clearer with us, and you're going to level like this. It's very important to max out the free and then the hammer afterwards, especially for the newer players to the scene, as this ability is much easier to hit. As you get advanced, you can experiment a little bit with maybe sometimes maxing out the hammer before the Berserker's Barrage. And we can talk a little bit about this as we finish off our builds here. This is roughly how I build. You can experiment a lot with this character. Now, what this means is, if you have some characters that stop your spin, so if you have, you know, an Ullr as the ADC or an Apollo, if they have a Ymir support, maybe someone in mid with a stun as well, or a solo laner with CC, it means that pretty much your Berserker Barrage is going to be a non-factor. You're going to go in, you're going to try and spin, and they're going to freeze you. In these scenarios, maxing out the hammer early is much better, because you'll be able to use your Tectonic Rift, double tap hammer to apply a lot of poke on these characters, without having to cancel your Berserker's Barrage or put yourself in a bad position. This is much more advanced because it actually is riskier to throw your hammer out to poke an enemy, as you can be initiated upon with this being on cooldown. So hopefully this explains the kind of different things to be thinking about when you level this character. As far as leveling the ulti or the Tectonic Rift, I like to get a bit of both. I don't really prioritize one or the other. I like having the extra stun length, and I like having a bit more damage on the Anvil of Dawn. This is a personal preference thing. I feel like you can max the ult out early, or you could just focus on maxing the Tectonic Rift if you want that extra stun duration. And that's about all you need to know on 4 in terms of building. These are the items you can get. Hide of Urchin's here because you can build this, and as you're going to be getting kills on 4, it does have a very good passive for you. Gives you a lot of defense and a lot of survivability. You could pick this up in place of Void Shield, for example. You probably want to build it before the Shifter Shield if you do build it, so something like this would be pretty good. I talk a little bit about Void Shield on 4, when to pick it up. If your team has a lot of physical characters, and if their team has a lot of physical characters, this item gets tremendous value, because it not only reduces their physical protections by 15, which you could technically look at flat pen, so your ADC will deal more damage, maybe your soloing, but it also gives you 50 physical protection, so if they have a lot of physicals, it's actually making you tankier as well. So a pretty neat item in those scenarios. I would recommend not building it if you have like a 4 mage setup, so let's say you have Chronos ADC with a mage support, mage meta, mage solo, then this item isn't giving you that good value. You could even build something else, maybe even Deathbringer, instead of this as your last item if that is the case. Hope you guys enjoyed this 4 how to build guide. Plenty more to come.